question 2. So this one I think is quite a lot easier. So we're still stuck on electricity. But of course, it's a big sector, so. So we've got an isolated country, single electricity producer, so we've got presumably then a monopoly. Okay, who thus has a monopoly? There's only one technology available, which is to burn coal. The demand function is same as before. Okie doke. And then we've got this cost W1. So, in laissez-faire, what's the monopolist going to do? What does the monopolist try to maximize? Yeah. And is it going to end up here or not? No. It's going to produce less, aren't they? So because if it's here, then they're making no profit at all, are they? Whereas if they produce here somewhere, they're going to make that. And it's this first year micro, or maybe second year these days, I don't know. What do you call this curve? I can't remember. It's the marginal revenue curve. You want to set marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. Yeah. Okay. So this is the kind of thing that is going to be going on here, isn't it? So let's get into the details. So we've got P is P naught minus Q. We've got unit cost W1. Each unit of electricity produced leads to theta units of carbon dioxide. So what are total carbon dioxide emissions then? There's only one technology here. There's no abatement technology or anything, I don't think. Yeah, so it's super straightforward, yeah. Theta Q. So that's coming from here. And then damages are, marginal damages are just gamma. So damages are gamma theta Q, aren't they, or gamma E. And we've got a regulator with an emissions tax, and we can call that toll. Okay, so what's the social planner going to do? So now we're forgetting about the monopoly, and we're saying the social planner wants to maximize the social profit or benefits, which are what? Again, we want the area under the curve, under the benefit curve, or under the demand curve. That's total benefits, isn't it? So what's that? It's the integral between 0 and q of P0 minus q, isn't it? dq. Yeah. Over to you guys. What's next? Social planner.
V1Q. W1Q.
Yeah. I have to write out the English, it's not just the Greek one. So you can pronounce it like that, yeah? W. Is that how the Americans pronounce it as well, or is it one of these confusing ones like Z? I think Americans say W too, don't they? Yeah. UK you say Z, Americans say Z. Basetta. Minus W1Q.
Minus the damage function.
It's funny, I sometimes feel like writing this when you're in this EU projects and things, or big joint projects. They all have these work packages, and it's like WP1 and WP2 and so on. And the people from all the different countries, we're all talking English in these meetings, and everyone has a different way of pronouncing the W. Only the English actually say W. It's like everyone else to say. Okay. Where were we? W1Q, you had something more for me.
Damage function?
Right. So that's... Okay, yeah, so we can just take this away, can't we? Minus gamma theta Q. Is that it? I think it's looking reasonable, isn't it? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, this. Can anyone see anything wrong with this? I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Should we put in the fact?
Oh, but we're in the planners. We're in the planners thing
yeah,
at the moment.
okay,
Yeah. No, so I think this is fine.
Yeah.
No, I don't need my crib sheet. So then the first order condition in Q, there is only Q, isn't there? Maximised by choice of Q. There is. So there is no way of abating. The only way of abating is to produce less. So it's really straightforward. So then we have, when we differentiate the integral, we just get back P0 minus Q minus W1 minus gamma theta equals 0. So Q is P0 minus W1 minus gamma theta. Okie doke. So that's really straightforward. So let's just park this up here. Q is P0 minus W1 minus gamma theta. It's like we could call it Q star if you like. The planner's Q. Well then, what's the monopolist's problem? Oh, we don't want that either, do we? Oh, well, no, maybe we do actually. Yeah, we do, don't we? Yeah, time for you to do some work. Write down the monopolist's problem, and I'll come and see how you're getting on. Has anyone got a monopolist problem for me? Yeah. Yeah, that's looking good to me. That is their revenue, so, yeah.
You want like number 2 monopolist problem already with
With
this
tax,
text?
yeah.
Okay, so not less payment.
Right, no. Contributably get laissez-faire out by setting tau equal to 0. Right, but then there's the tax as well. One more letter for me. No, but you're missing one letter.
Jaha, fan. Okej. Jag kollade här.
Jo, det är ju
Yeah, so this is good. So what's the monopolist's revenue?
Yeah, the price is not given this way, so.
But the monopolist's revenue is still price times quantity, but the price is equal. Price is equal to
So then would we avoid it in the first?
no, so then we put it in the budget.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the first question we avoided
Right.
it, now we internalize it.
Yeah. Okay, I think everyone's pretty much there. Did you find your letter, Hannah?
Yeah.
Good.
With some help.
Okay. So the monopolist problem is to maximize price times quantity, right? But the monopolist is treating price as endogenous. Because the monopolist knows that if I raise quantity, my price is going to go down. And that's part of the calculation. So we need P0 minus Q times Q. Minus costs, and then also minus tax payments, which are TOR times emissions. Because the tax is levied on emissions, not the quantity of electricity. So it's TOR beta Q. And that's it, right? That you've pretty much done this whole question now. It's just algebra left, I think, really. So now it's just first order condition in Q where there only is Q. So it's P0 minus 2Q minus W1 minus TOR theta equals naught. So Q, if we collect the terms, is P0 minus W1 minus TOR theta over 2. Okie doke. So, if we play with the idea that theta is naught, there's no damages, then the planner says P0 minus W1, but the monopolist says P0 minus W1 over 2, which is what you typically get in the first year micro courses, yeah, with a linear demand. You end up halving the quantity, yeah. But then the damages make it messier, yeah. It's not at all so clear, but of course it depends what this TOR is going to be. Okay. Oh, part 2. Find the monopoly firm's choice of production as a function of the tax TOR chosen by the regulator. That's the answer, isn't it? So then we need to go on to part 3. What tax rate should the regulator choose to maximize welfare? And it's super straightforward. So what do we need to do? Hannah agrees with me, it's super straightforward. What do we need to do?
I would say TOR equal to gamma.
No, that's
No?
not right, no.
That's the one you're about.
Yeah, but it's trickier than that, you see. That's not going to do the job for us.
that so should Sanders quantity equal to the monopoly quantity?
Right.
And
So we need to set Q equal to Q star. Because that's the thing. If the only problem was the environmental externality, then you just set tau equal to gamma.
Oh yeah, now they are market power.
But the point of this question is that there's market power to the
Yeah.
issue. So then you need to be on your toes and thinking,
Yeah.
okay, it's not going to be tau equal to gamma. Okay. Because the point is that the market power is reducing. If we forget about the tax, set the tax equal to 0 for now, the market power is reducing production compared to laissez-faire, which would be P0 minus W1. And what does the planner want to do? The planner wants to reduce production due to the damage. And the market power is actually doing that job for the planner. It could even be that this is less than this. So then the regulator actually wants to raise production. So then the tax would actually end up being a subsidy. Okay. So to get the answer, we need to set Q star equal to Q. So for optimal, and this is the typical thing when we're looking for optimal regulation, yeah, that we set up the firms, how do the firms react to the regulator, and then given that reaction, you compare to the planned and say, okay, therefore, what tax do we need to get as close as possible to the planned economy, or typically in this course, to get all the way to the planned economy. So P0 minus W1 minus gamma theta is P0 minus W1 over 2 minus tau theta over 2. So I've broken this one out because we want to get an expression in terms of tau, don't we? So if we take this over and take this lot over, we end up with tau theta over 2 is equal to gamma theta, taking that over, plus that minus that is actually turned out to be minus P0 minus W1 over 2. Then we multiply through by 2 over theta, and we get 2 gamma, and that 2 goes, and we have a theta here. So you should end up with that, okay. Don't worry if you didn't quite follow that, but it's just the algebra, yeah. And at this point, I'm just going to check my crib sheet. I think, should it really be 2 gamma? I thought this was different from my crib sheet, and it is. No, I think I got it wrong in the crib sheet. Yeah, I got it wrong here. Let me correct that in case I use this again. Okay. And there's nothing, if gamma is small, this could easily be negative, which would be a subsidy. Like, imagine there's no damages. How do you deal with the monopoly? You can actually subsidize production in that sector, because if there's a monopoly in that sector, it's partial equilibrium, remember, there's too little production in that sector. How can we deal with that? It's kind of paradoxical, but it's a standard result. You subsidize production in that sector. Okay. Discuss the relevance of the above story to real regulatory problems. And I'm giving you a hint by saying irrelevant. So I'm kind of hinting that this isn't really very relevant to most real problems. Have you had time to think about that, anyone? Why is that? Or should I give you some time to think about it and talk to your neighbours, so to speak?
I'm thinking about it right now.
You're thinking about, yeah, take a minute or two to think about it. Or chat about it, whatever.
This is never
Men det kan ju
so
ändå vara, alltså om vi, det är jag tänkte på
this
var,
would really make it possible to calculate the tax this way because we never throw the special damage solution and therefore it's always kind of a guess and
I
it
think
doesn't
you
make
in reality would probably,
Nu har vi lite för
you would probably, where you are gonna damage, och då var kommer det in. Alltså den enda större krisen, alltså kostnader är som det ska vara så. I'm thinking about it.
So give me some thoughts.
It's a little bit weird to assume that carbon dioxide is the only damage. Like that can come from production.
Okay. So I'm going to write down, give me different thoughts. I'm going to write them down. My sense is you're not getting the main points from what I was picking up from what you're saying. But actually, we've hardly talked about this, so it's quite tricky, and especially with no time to think about it. But CO2 only pollutant. So what other thoughts did you have? So you guys were saying, well, you all had different ideas. Why?
I was more into the abatement, lack of abatement in this problem, and that you usually don't know the damage function, and then you probably look more at the abatement costs and set the tax somewhere.
Okay, I'll comment some of these on them soon, but and you guys were also discussing things.
Like that we can't know the damage function.
Yeah. Yeah, so I had several of you talking about, like, we don't know the damage function. That's kind of always true. Or typically, yeah, we don't know it exactly, or sometimes we have a pretty good idea, other times. But typically that's going to make us, like, unsure how hard to go in with our instruments. But is it really going to affect our choice of instrument? I mean, I'm not sure that that's really that relevant here. Maybe it is. I can't quite get my head around it if it isn't relevant.
maybe also in reality we usually don't want monopolies, even though in this case we could benefit from it from an environmental perspective. But in the scenario where you would maybe subsidize the monopolist to produce a bit more, I think this would, from a society...
There's a distributional
standpoint,
aspect to it. Yeah, I think you're thinking about distribution, really. that the monopolists are already raking in excess profits, and then we're going to subsidise them as well. This kind of sticks in the craw, as you can say in
And
English.
even in the taxing, like if you would tax them, you would tax them less than
Yeah.
competitive firms, so like they always have like this advantage then
Yeah.
in this case.
Yeah, so that's not the main thing I was thinking of, but it is relevant. Absolutely. Okay. But let's see. So in this economy, we've got a monopoly electricity producer who can only use coal, and there's no way of stopping the carbon emissions from the coal. Okay, and therefore, in this setup, we come to the conclusion that we should even maybe subsidise them, or at least tax them less than we otherwise would, because they're already reducing production compared to the social optimum. But what have we, in this setup, there's a bunch of stuff that is, in real economies, happens, that isn't, we've ruled out here. What kind of stuff have we ruled out?
Technological progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, sorry, I'm sounded very doubtful, but that is totally relevant. It wasn't the first thing that I was thinking of, but it is relevant. Technological progress. Give me some more things. Like, in a typical country, so how many ways are there of making electricity in this country? Right, and is that the norm or
No.
no? So, alternative, clean technologies, yeah, we've ruled out. We said there's only one technology. So imagine you had exactly like this, but there was also the possibility of using gas that was slightly more expensive. Okay. What would the planner do?
Subsidized, yeah.
The planner doesn't need to use any instruments, right? Remember? The planner is going to choose gas. Okay, yeah? You see what I mean? So, if the gas is only slightly more expensive and we've got this big problem with climate change, so the planner would choose gas. But then, what would the regulator do? So here we're saying, oh look, the regulator can subsidise the monopolist, or go easy on the monopolist to keep the quantity of electricity up. But if there's an alternative, cleaner, or even a clean technology, maybe instead of gas it could be solar or something, that will end up completely wrong, won't it? So this only works when there's no alternative technology. And there's no end of pipe abatement either in the model here. If any of this stuff was kicking around and possible, then it would make absolutely no sense anymore to subsidise or to reduce the tax on coal production because of the monopoly. Because then you wouldn't be incentivising end-of-pipe abatement, you wouldn't be incentivising switches to cleaner technologies, you wouldn't be incentivising research in cleaner technology. So, it's only really in this very, very special, highly restricted economy, this sort of weird economy, that you're going to get this result that you can get like optimal, that you can get the planner's allocation by reducing Pigovian level. That is not going to do the job if the planner actually wants to see investment, or the planner chooses and the regulator wants to see investment in technological progress, changes, switches to clean technology and so on. Okay. And if you think about your research projects, or whatever we call them, which is the kinds of ways, what ways are there to reduce pollution, generally, in a particular sector? We can basically clean up production in different ways, ideally just by switching to a completely new technique. Or we can persuade people to consume less of the good that is linked to the polluting emissions. And in several of your presentations, what do we say implicitly or explicitly about this option? We talked about demand elasticity, several of you. What do we say typically about demand elasticity for lights and other things? They're typically not very high. Consumers are quite stuck on what they want to consume. So typically, planner solutions in general are likely or tend to involve a lot of switches to clean technology and not so much you can't have this stuff anymore. You can't drive your car anymore. It's more like you have to switch to an electric car, or you have to switch from diesel to petrol. And of course, in the very long run, and depending, I mean, it's an open question in the long run, in the macro, what do you call it, general equilibrium. You know, you can argue, look, in the long run, we're going to have to put the brakes on our consumption. We can't keep finding technologies to solve everything. And we talked about that a bit with the land allocation stuff. Yeah, right at the end of the last session on Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But for the time being, in these kinds of partial analyses that we've got with the data we have, typically these are the big ways which we're using to get rid of pollution, and not this. But in this economy, this is the only option. And then it's like, oh great, we've got a monopoly, everything's solved, kind of, because the monopolist chooses to reduce quantity already. But the monopoly is not helping these things. And these are actually the things that typically the Pigovian tax is helping to achieve. Is the main benefits of implying the tax are not that people consume less of the good. It's that it incentivizes better technology, cleaner technology. Okay. That was that, and I think it's time for another break. Should we take another 10 minutes, or?